To every one of you for tuning in to another episode of Starseed Activations. Welcome. Okay, so today we're going to be discussing I have 10 questions for this one. So we have a full list of questions. Everyone was so good because we started multiple chat boxes. And so it's on the WhatsApp. We have a new messaging that I can shout out. So it's not like a message box where people are talking back and forth, but it's more like me able to tell everybody, hey, we're going live in like 10 minutes. So it's wonderful. Yes. Oh, thank you very much. Welcome, Caroline. Excellent. Okay. So some of the questions that we had coming in, we're going to talk about doubts and fears because this is something that's reoccurring and it keeps coming up for all of us. So it is okay to have doubts and fears. Every single one of us, we should be having doubts and fears because the doubts and fears now, what the star people are saying is just imagine for 1 second that you have a doubt. And what that is it's a break or it's a moment for you to take a second and to reevaluate and figure out what it is that you actually want. And so why is it important that we have doubts? Because it allows us that split second moment to see and to just sense and to feel, right? Is this something I want? Let's say, for an example, you want to start a business and then all of a sudden you get started in the manifestation process to bring that business into your world. And then you realize how much work that's going to actually go into it. And so there's always that moment of doubt or fear can creep inside. But that gives us an opportunity to really see how bad do you want it? And so, of course, I'm talking about it. It's everybody. It only says Facebook user. So someone said that, they've been dealing with this. It's all of us have been going through it. This is the energetic that we're dealing with from the solar energetics right now. And so it's not only you guys, because I deal with it too. I'm like, oh, geez, should I be in front of people on videos, right? And then a part of me is like, this is nonsense. This is what we're going to do, right? And so, but this is how you have to handle your doubts and your fears. You have to sit there, you allow them to come up, allow yourself to feel them. It is perfectly natural. It is human to feel doubts and fears. We're not supposed to always feel invincible. And so sometimes we get humbled. We'll have an experience where fear will trickle in. Now, if you took me and you put me up on a high wire, am I going to get scared? Absolutely. And so some people out there there is different methods of pulling yourself out of the holographic simulation. I've done this. I've seen it before, so I know it's true and I know it's possible. However, unless you're at that level where you can physically pull your consciousness out and back and you can see the way the timelines flip, if you're up on that high wire, the wind is going to be gusting. Your stomach may do, somersaults, and all of a sudden, all these emotions are going to come to the surface. This is normal. This is part of the human experience. Now, in Egypt's time, they had different protocols for allowing a human form to go through these different fears until the fears were eventually released. This is what the star people have me doing right now to different degrees. And so, but they have me going through my own personal fears. Now, I do know also when they triggered one of my fears, they hit some type of frequency device, weapon, not a weapon. They're correcting me. It's a frequency generator, he's saying. And so they triggered a frequency generator through my heart chakra to shake loose one of the fears that I personally was running at the time. And so, but what happened inside my body was absolutely amazing. And it was a process of remembering. It was like, oh, yeah, you kind of feel this because anytime you've ever had any fear come up, our bodies naturally respond in this way. But it felt like a thick, energy was coming off of me. And so it was heat and it was hot. But not only that, my body got tense and it was like raw and it felt like it radiated. Now, I know for a fact that our aura fields generate a type of electricity. Your heart is pumping. They use electricity to jumpstart you when you fall out of it. And so that's okay too. Now, when we're casting chi energetics. The chi energetics is electrical in nature. Your brainwave patternings are electrical. And so this is the natural way that your body responds. Your nervous system is triggering electrical impulses. And so when we know this, now all of a sudden your emotions are magnetic. And so we are beings of magnetism first, because your emotions, your heart chakra, the higher self comes and seats in the heart chakra first. This is your soul comes down and drops in. And then you take the physical, the electrical that we're getting from the chi energetics of Mother Earth. This is why earth grounding is wonderful. We're taking that chi energetics and we're casting it. And so, but you have to do it with your emotions. This is the reason why everyone is talking about you have to be open-hearted. You have to allow your heart to love each and every person here. This is why we're on the planet right now. And so when we allow our hearts to open, it grants us more access to casting our chi energetic systems. Now, we've had a lot of information come forth this past couple of days about people who are energetic triggers for all the people around them. And so what that looks like, it's not pretty. Because imagine for 1 second, you're holding trauma in your energetic grids, which is changing the way that you behave in the physical reality. And so what does that mean? Automatically, we know when you get traumatized, you have a fear. Now that fear is in control of your behaviors. Here's a good example. When I was a kid, I was attacked by a pit bull. And so that fear stayed with me until I was an adult, until I dove into that memory and I released the fear. Now, anytime a dog would come around me, I would automatically be fearful, and then that dog could sense the fear. So that makes your odds of being attacked by a second dog much higher. The second that you're loving, caring, kind, all of the new dogs that come into your grid or into your space, they're going to realize or sense that you're loving, caring, kind. They're not going to attack you. They're going to be very relaxed and calm, right? And so, but this is how all traumas work. It doesn't matter what trauma it is. All the traumas that we have, and especially there's some traumas that we don't consciously remember. And so I was going to tell a really funny story. If my mom watches this, she's going to get really pissed. But they dropped me down a stairs in a walker once, right? And I was a little kid, and it was like da 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 da. Now I didn't really get hurt, but just an example. When you drop a baby down a flight of stairs, it could make an energetic imprint on that child. And then all of a sudden, you have no idea why you have this fear coming over you. But then while you're an adult, you dive back in, you're doing the shadow work. And so doing the shadow work is of high value to all of us, because if you did, so funny, right, Melissa? They pushed me. It's just joking. But when you're an adult, you can dive into the shadow work. And so when we do this, now, I do this on a regular as well. Every certain solar energetic shifts, we'll get called to do this work, because it's like, oh, there's going to be a new energetic coming in. And so the star people always like, it's time to release. And so right away, either it's in a bathtub or laying down in meditation, we're always dropping in and allowing the higher self to take physical form. What that looks like is your heart chakra flowers open. And so you can ask the higher self questions. You can ask the higher self, show me a memory in which I need to heal because it's a trauma that's encoded in my energetic grids. Some of the traumas, they either get stored in your physical body. And so we could do things like tapping. Tapping is wonderful. Now, we've spoken many times about wrinkles on the face. And so each wrinkle, each line that you have on the face, and it doesn't matter if you're a child, because children can develop these lines as well. It doesn't have, we think that it's from old age. But the truth of the situation is that when you reach a certain age, you've been holding on to all this emotional baggage for so long that, of course, it's going to reflect on the face. But the truth is that the lines on the hands and the lines on the bottom of the feet, they all change and shift depending on the emotions that you hold. So many times, if you see a person who goes through a trauma right now, you may notice a wrinkle show up on their face. It does not matter their age. It could still potentially show up. Now, also take any scars, take any, like let's say you get a cut and so you're bleeding. All of these things are indications that there's an issue in the energetic grid. All of the trauma from the early childhood, it makes distortions in the energetic grids, which weaken the grid in certain areas. So I want you guys to see each and every trauma like it's a sunglasses shade, just one. And so now just imagine you pop the lenses out. That's one lens, right? And so each and every trauma you go through, it places a lens over your energetic grid. Now you have 2 or 3 or 4, 10 traumas. And if it's in this one area of your grid, you're going to have 10 shades there. And so, of course, you're not going to be able to shine your light. And so what happens is then we start to see a distortion because your energy is not flowing correctly outside of that grid. And so it starts to reflect out and it reflects back in. When it reflects back in, you start to manifest a disease. That's also known as a distortion. So Their laughter leaves other imprints. Yeah, that's wonderful to bring up too, because there's certain times when, like, let's say you break your arm. Just an example. Let's say someone breaks their arm. If you and this really it didn't. I mean, I don't even like saying it, but it's the truth. This is what the star people told me that they do. So let's say your friend breaks his arm, right? And so we hate to laugh at people because we have been taught that it's not okay to laugh at people. However, if you and that person, you both sit there and you're looking at his arm and you're laughing together at the arm, right? And you're going through all these emotions, and it's removing all of the toxic emotions that cause the break. And the laughter is actually encoded with bliss frequency because it's directly connected into the source frequency. And so it will actually start to make the arm heal 10 times quicker. And so it's not really socially acceptable to be laughing at people. So you always want to practice this in home. Now, it also works over the frequency waves. And so time and space isn't real. We are all connected down at the quantum realm. And so let's say, for an example, you have someone who's starting to show signs of illness or diseases. You can even send them laughter. And so you can pre-program the laughter. Thank you, biological form. Thank you, higher self, for taking any and all of my laughter and casting it directly at this person in the intent to heal them. And so when we start to take it from this perspective, now we take it, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, wait a minute. We're able to cast our energetics. The same as if we talk to our trees, we talk to our plants. I had something absolutely amazing happen too. By the way, the star people have been telling me to summon the herbal corporation. That's the words that they exactly used. And so we were in the supermarket. We picked up a rosemary plant. Was it rosemary? No, it's a basil plant, he's saying. It's a basil. And so now we started, taking a couple leaves and putting it in the salad. So good. So delicious. And so now it's unpacking itself, because now my kids are like, well, now we have to get different plants. What does rosemary taste like? What are some other ones? Can we get sage? Can we get, right? And so now we're going to have a bunch of plants in my house that we're going to be throwing into the salads and unpacking. So this is how these type of things work as well, because when you're talking about energetic grids and distortions in the grid, there is a plant for every single area on the grid. In time, humanity will uncover the frequency of each and every plant, and you will have identified it to a particular location in the energetic grid structure. So if you're having a problem in, let's say, your throat, then you'll be able to use something like turmeric, for an example, just an example. That's the first thing that came to my mind. I had laughed at me when I had to do surgery, and also when I fell, yeah. And so I've done that too so many times, and I had no idea. I got hurt, and all of a sudden I'm laughing at myself. But when you laugh at yourself, it's releasing the emotions. Otherwise, those emotions could have imprinted you. And so that's question number 2, shifting into bliss during chaos energetics, such as a car accident. And so when we are in something that is very traumatic or tragedy is about to strike, time-space starts to slow. The reason why time-space slows, because time-space is directly connected into your heart chakra. And so your heart chakra is a vortex energetic. It's like a spring. And so when we talk about time-space, when you're sad, it starts to go really, really slow. When you're happy, it starts to go really fast. When you're about to get into some sort of trauma or tragedy, it slows down. So it becomes very, very dense, because you're about to experience something very, very dense in its nature. And so when this happens, now just imagine for 1 second, because I'm telling you the truth. When you get into a moment in which this type of trauma energy, or it gets eerily quiet, or you notice that you're about to go through a car accident, that's the time, instead of panicking and allowing your heart to race. Of course, this is in the now moment, so your heart's probably going to raise a little bit. That's normal. But if you can drop into the heart space, close your eyes, and just feel love and bliss for the experience. You got nothing left to lose anyway, because if you're looking out the window and you see an accident is coming, just dropping into the heart is not going to harm you, right? And so we do this automatically. Like people who are on a plane and they think the plane is going to fall, they all start to pray. That's a natural intuition. Even the atheists will start to pray. So what I'm telling you is we're praying wrong, because when you drop into the heart, just feel love for the experience. Just thank you for the experience. Now, what you actually have the potential of doing during that moment is you can shift your frequency. So if you are about to get into a total wreck, right? But you dropped into the heart and you thank you, universe, thank you, hologram, thank you, source frequency, thank you, God. Whoever it is that you want to talk to is perfectly fine. I normally talk to God in situations like that. And so, but when you drop into the heart and you just say, thank you for the experience, I love and bless this world, all these people, and really just open up your heart. When you open up your eyes, you could potentially shift into a parallel reality in which something happened and the entire thing was averted. You guys ever seen those TikToks? And like, well, everything with me is TikTok. I love TikTok. And like, there'll be a person right here, and then all of a sudden, two cars come out of nowhere, and like they missed him by like a millimeter. And so that's because he wasn't in the frequency to actually have an impact. He was in a higher frequency to be a witness of a miracle. And so when you drop into your heart space and you shine love and light, miracles can happen. Now, the animals can sense this too. You guys are all star seeds. I'm not saying that this is going to work 100% of the time, because it's not like you know what I mean? You guys have your own soul missions and soul contracts. However, whenever you're dealing with any type of animal, so let's say, for an example, when I'm on the street, if there's a stray dog, I'm automatically dropping into my heart, loving and lighting. I'm not running away in fear, right? Because what happens when the dog sees you run? Automatically, he's going to think, well, they're scared. That's a frequency. So you don't know what's going to happen. But if you go and you have any type of experience with any animal, insect, any tree, because some of the plants can actually cause us harm too, and you drop into the heart space and treat it the same, like it's a trauma frequency. And so just love it. I love and bless the experience. Thank you for the experience. Just drop right into your heart. Thank you, higher self, for helping me to get through the experience. Thank you. And then all of a sudden, when you open your eyes, it'll be less. Because what you just did, think about it logically from a science perspective, right? You've just raised your frequency by opening up your heart. And so let's say the trauma frequency was down here. So this is where you were going to be. You were going to hit the pole, right? Or you were going to fall off the cliff. You dropped into your heart. You instantaneously raised your frequency up to here. And so now all of a sudden, instead of falling off the cliff, there was a branch, and the branch pushed you off and the bike went off the cliff. That's how this works. So, and then not only that, but you guys all have star families too. You guys each should be making contact and communication. Try it. Just try it. Even if you feel crazy and you feel like you're just talking to your own mind, it's okay, because you will eventually get an answer. I guarantee it. It's a matter of time. Now, think about the way that we manifest things as well, because when we manifest certain things, we have to place our focus and attention on manifesting. And so that means you're not going to be a genius right out of the gate. You have to continuously put your focus and attention, right? And so this is what I had to do when I first started channeling the extraterrestrials. I knew automatically I was channeling them because I had signs, I had synchronicities, I had heard them, I seen a UFO, but I still didn't know my life purpose. I still had no idea that I would be doing this. Of course not. But little by little, I started writing. And so they started giving me so much science that it just became too much to write. It was too fast. And so then I started audio recording myself. Then I started going and hanging out with other spiritual people and talking. And in the middle of the conversation, the star people were like, this is the information they need. And it was like completely out of my control. It just came through. So if I didn't start talking to them like they were the voice inside of my mind, then I wouldn't be here today. It would have taken 10 times longer. That's what they're saying. So each and every one of you, they really want they want to speak to each of us directly. They do not want gatekeepers. They do not want one person being a shout out. Like a lot of times what we can see in the physical world is we can see people stepping into the being a channel, bringing forward the information. But then a lot of times it gets wrapped in politics. And so that's what they don't want. They don't want people thinking that they're gods. They definitely don't want that. They don't want people taking their word as the final end all. They want you guys to take the information, to do research, do knowledge, and expand it. Because the process of you guys expanding the information and creating it your own. So I could tell you one thing. I could tell you the universe is a hologram, just for an example. You guys can take it, you could research it, and you could come from a whole different perspective of the information, which is just as valuable as the original source that you got the information from. This is why there's so many like ancient texts on the planet. I saw a TikTok and like the monks had opened up a room on accident where they like blasted through a wall and it was filled with books and transcripts. Why do you think that they have so many books and transcripts? Because it's every single person's perspective counts. So you can have a person like Jesus Christ come through and he can activate extrasensory abilities and all that stuff. But why is it that the 12 disciples also wrote books? I believe Mary, she wrote a book too. Like all of those people wrote books. So, and then not only that, but think about it from physics. When you put 12 perspectives together, it's actually 13, the star people are saying. When you put them together, that's when you can see the oversoul. Oh, I just got the chills. So yeah, but 12 and then the 13, it gives you the entire picture of what it is. Because when you have the 13 original architects, it's kind of like that's the microcosm of the macrocosm. So yeah, it's amazing. Okay. Let me take a sip. I have this beautiful, it's like bedtime tea with no caffeine. I don't know what they put in it. It's amazing though. It's so good. Okay, let's see. Access codes. How do we use them? How do we deny access into the dark coding? So access codes can be considered, it can be considered emotion codes, but it's more than that because it goes 10 steps deeper, the star people are saying. And so the access codes, I want you to think. Now, the post I wrote, and we just posted it, it was all about the negative thoughts running in your mind and how those are access codes into the lower frequencies. But the truth of the matter is every single mantra that you guys do is an access code. How did it make you feel? This, and like I always used to laugh when I heard on the TV the therapist asked me, "Oh, how does it feel?" Right? We're like, "Oh, they don't know anything." No, they know everything. Because when you start to figure it out for yourself, I ask myself this all the time: how did this experience make me feel? Even drinking a cup of tea. How did it make me feel? Did I feel like $1 million? Did I feel energized? Did I feel nice? Did I feel warmth? Because is it possible that I could take a sip of hot, warm tea and then I could just imagine standing on a beach in the sunshine? And so, yes, that is. Now, think about it from this perspective. Warmth, the reason why everyone gathers over hot cups of coffee is because it's hot. And when you are hot, you're actually activating your body's sense of love. Who knew? And so when you're standing in the sun, it's activating, it's triggering love emotions in you. This is why we feel better when we have the sunshine that we need. So when we start to talk about action codes, it's all about emotions, but it's also about experientials. And so what is an experiential? It is something that you have experienced or something that you wish to experience. And so when you wish to bring something into your reality, you have to hold the emotion codes. Here is a classic one that me and my side people over here, we talk about this all the time. You know, we have a winning scratch off. It was only for $1. What do we do with it? We throw it in the car somewhere. We're like, it's only $1, right? So we're not really firing off any high value emotion codes. And so now what did that do? It just told the universe, well, we won technically on a scratch off, but did I have the most joy and excitement and bliss from the experience? No, I didn't really care. It was only $1. And so the universe takes that. It's like, didn't really matter because they didn't fire off love, joy, and bliss, right? Those are access codes. And so the more and more that you could start dropping down into the physical form and pulling those love, bliss, emotion codes, you could pull them out of your memory grid complex, right? So you could pull up a memory that made you very joyful, excited, or even I do the rock star vibe. And so that's how I felt when I was riding around on a motorcycle when I was younger. I felt like a rock star all the time. I do keep it very, very humble. So now, you know what I mean? Like you can't be like, but it's okay. If you understood my body language communication, I understood it. So, but what I do is I try and keep it humble, but yeah, I want to feel like $1 million every day. And so, of course, some days we're not going to wake up feeling like $1 million. It's a part of life, especially when we're going through the solar energetics. Now, with this last, with the all of the earthquakes that were just perceived on the planet, many of us felt that 3 days before it even happened. I know I did. I was like, oh, what is this energy, right? And like, I'm trying to do all of my things. And then finally it got to a breaking point. The star people like, just let it be. Maybe when you don't feel as high frequency or you're just feeling like there's some density or resistance, maybe that's the time when you're meant to go into meditation. Maybe that's the time when it's meant to release. Apparently, it's always a release because whenever we feel like the solar energies are like putting a little weight on us, it's because we're meant to release something because it slingshots us up in frequency the second that we release. And so during those 3 days, I was doing heavy shadow work. It's so funny too, because like the star people planned my sessions and like those 3 days, it was crickets. And I was like, oh, okay, there's no sessions. We're doing shadow work, right? We're cleaning up our home. We're doing all sorts of things. But even cleaning your home is a form of shadow work, because when you're cleaning, you're blessing, you're loving, you're lighting, right? You clean the windows. Okay, you clean your glasses, make it a mantra every single day. And so you clean your glasses just like you would clean the rest of your body. Everything. The more focus that you can pay attention to the fine details of your life, the more love, joy, and bliss you can cast on every single part of your life. And so many times the younger kids, the ones who just get out of high school, they do this naturally. They just don't realize. And so they're naturally happier and like bouncier. It's just a little bit of a higher frequency. So their brain waves are still in like, it's not really theta, but it's a little bit higher than the adults. So I don't get clients either when I'm doing shadow work or holding space. It's amazing. Yeah, it absolutely is. It's like complete crickets. And it's like they are in control, right? But they're guiding each and every one. And it's beautiful when you look back and you're like, wow, I was so guided and supported, and like they knew everything I needed. And like it was like a baby step process. And so, but that's what they're doing for all of us. You guys just have to become aware of it. So the second that you become aware that everything that you need, it is going to find you. Your star family is helping you. And whenever you feel like they are helping you to like now many people feel like you do an energy clearing and then you feel like there's a lot of negative, like a backlash that comes back in. These are cycle repeats. And so this is very, very important to talk about when we speak about solar energetic shifts, because cycle repeats, basically whatever imprinted you. And so let's say, for example, take the dog attack. You got imprinted by a dog attack, right? And so that emotion, it made density inside your energetic grid structure. And so because that density was there, now we either had a solar energetic, which cleared the density automatically for us, or triggered it to try and clear it from your grid, or you did the shadow work. So you went into the memory and you healed it. You sent it love and light. It was darkness, you sent it love and light, right? The law of polarity becomes activated when you do that. And so now the grid is cleaned. Now it's our job to continuously push love and light into the energetic grid. We also push it into the physical form, the star people are saying. This is very important because specifically when you're dealing with attachments, when you remove one, they could, if you go through a cycle repeat, the star people are saying the cycle repeat always has to come around, because when we remove the attachment, we are sealing the energetic grid. So what he's saying right now is that cycle repeat comes, and then if you handle the cycle repeat in a low frequency, it starts a whole cycle all over again. And so the cycle repeats, they happen. They're very real. I've seen them. I've witnessed a bunch of them because I've cleared a lot of my shadow work. I've done a lot of it. So it's okay to have chaos after an energetic clearing. It's perfectly okay, right? Now, what you do with the chaos that comes at you, right? You want to remember, okay, we just did energy clearing. All this chaos is coming my way. So what am I going to do? I'm going to drop into the heart and I'm going to be okay. Now, that has everything to do with doubts and fears as well. Now, when we start to see either cycle repeats or chaos energy or trauma, right? It's just like the car accident. When we drop into the heart and we raise our frequency. So even if it's not a car accident, even if it's someone yelling and screaming at you. And so when you drop into the heart and you reply in only love. So I'm not going to give you a negative comment. I'm not going to curse at you, right? I don't have time for that nonsense. And not today, universe, right? So that's my motto. You guys more welcome to use it. Today is the best day ever, and not today, universe. And so whenever someone comes at you with any type of negativity, you just drop into your heart. Not today, universe. Many love and blessings. That's it, right? And don't give them the time of day, because when they sit here, when other people come at you and they try and trigger you, I want you just to realize that sometimes those experiences are pre-planned by your higher self to see if you're ready for the next brick or the next step in your evolutionary process. This is how it works. And so it's kind of like a test. I hate using that word, but this is actually the way it works. The higher self is going to throw you curveballs, going to throw you tests. That's what a cycle repeat is. Because the second that you've cleared this stepping stone of your consciousness, that level, you get leveled up into the next one. And so the second that you go through a solar shift and you hold heart space, even for the even for all of the people who just were injured in the earth shaking, right? And so we come right into the heart space and we hold space for them. We send them love, we send them light, and we did mantras and, meditations for them to heal and for their buildings to become rebuilt up using high technology and all sorts, right? And so, but what is that? That's holding space in your heart, right? So the heart always becomes activated whenever you see anything like this. Now, the star people are also saying, think about the frequency that drops down into your physical form. Because the way the frequency works, it's 3 different frequencies in the shape of a pyramid, 1, 2, and 3. And then, but it's really tight. And then it spirals down your body. But then it radiates out like this. And then when it comes back in, it forms a sacred geometric snowflake. That snowflake is what determines your independent physical reality. And so when we start to see things in the location codes, oh, hold on one second. Let me just do a little thing. When we start to see certain energetic shifts in the location codes. So let's say, for example, you're seeing chaos in the world. That's normal, especially during an evolutionary hike up into 5D. That's perfectly normal. Now, what the star people show me is just imagine a bubble of negativity. It all has to come up to the surface and it has to be released. And that's when the civilization as a whole rises into 4D, which is the ability to instantaneously manifest in the now moment is 4D. 5D is basically a level up. See, 4D is more like a half note. So there's still a lot of incoherent frequencies on the planet during a 4D shift. Many of us have already experienced 4 and 5D. Some of us 5D, most of us 4D, the star people are saying. And so 4D basically looks like what we're seeing right now outside of our window. Right. We see a lot of chaos. We see a lot of turbulence, but then we have these experiences in which time and space seems a little slippery. Right. We're starting to notice the solar energetics and the way it's pulsing us. The cycle repeats, which is showing, what is the cycle repeat actually showing us? What is the past if the cycle is repeating? And so you take this 10 levels deeper. Now, I want you to imagine opening up a history book. And so when you see the history book, it's actually a reflection of yourself, literally, because you're seeing the history of something that you are in alignment to manifest in your future. That's how it works. And so this is what your memory grid complex is. So each and every one of us, we experience something called the Mandela effect. That shows us how your past can be different than my past. And so we can see this over and over in the holographic simulation. Each and every one of us could have had something very different as a past history. This is the reason why many ancient texts were written by 12 or 13 person perspectives. Because in order to get the whole picture, you have to see the photo from multiple people's perspectives, he's saying. And so when we know this, now all of a sudden, it's like a mirror reflection of a frequency that is flowing inside of you, because you can go inside of yourself, and each and every one of us have the power to do this. You and I are just becoming aware of we have the ability to do this, but you can go inside of yourself. You can change your biological frequency as well as your binary codex frequency, which changes the history that you are experiencing in the now moment. When you go through and you change your history, you're also changing the future, because the history and the future, it's only mirror reflections of the frequency that you are experiencing right now. That's all it is. And so we see people on the planet doing walking meditations, and during the walking meditation, they're able to change the physical world as they see it by meditating and just being happy and positive and loving, caring, kind. They literally will see a whole different world. You may see a world with high technology in it. You may see a world with fairies and gnomes and all sorts of magical creatures. You may see a world with dinosaurs. It all depends on what frequency that you are holding. This is the type of magic or extrasensory abilities that each and every one of us have the capability of activating. This is the reason why they put the fluoride in the water, because they don't want to activate the pineal gland. In order to access those realms, because it's just a different parallel reality, in order to access those realities, you have to flower open the heart chakra, which means having loving, caring, kind for every single experience, person, place, and thing. All of it. You have to be loving, caring, kind. this is the easiest way to unlock your multidimensional nature. But the star people are saying that there's other ways as well. This is just the way that this channel feels comfortable giving you the information. Open up your heart, hold loving, caring, kind. Then we want to start to work on opening up your pineal gland. And so there's different meditations utilizing breath work. When you utilize the breath work, you actually pull spinal cord fluid up the spine, and it causes a piezoelectric effect, which is electrical in its nature, inside the pineal gland. And then what that does is it forces the pineal gland to open, the same as the heart chakra. And so when these two are open, there's actually a third one. And so the one that's on the top of your head, that one flowers open. When you start to do all three of these, 333 is God's number. That's what the star people have been telling me for years. And so I had no idea that it had to do with the three that you have to open and flower open, because when you start to do that, then all of a sudden it puts you in alignment with 5D frequencies. Now, the way the actual chakras work, you're pulling ether or you're pulling source frequency in through the solar plexus. It's yellow. We're getting a lot of that from the sun. So the sun hits us, we're pulling it inside, and then it actually activates in the heart, and then it actually activates in the pineal gland. And so then it's like a 1, 2, 3. It generates a 3 shape in the body for all three of those chakras to become activated. And then it flowers up the top. And now let me tell you guys something. When you start to do any type of meditations, the star people showed me what it feels like to pull your consciousness back and to push it straight up out of the top of the head. It's blissful. It's amazing. It feels like getting hugged by a unicorn. That's what my child would call it. So it's just absolutely beautiful. Hey, Derek. Source is God, divine consciousness. Absolutely. Yeah. You also have a higher self. Well, actually, what the star people said about that is you have a higher self, and then you have the oversoul, which is kind of like the source frequency, but the higher self can fractal into many different versions. And so, but that's only in one reality. That's in the reality and the astral realities that we are in right now. It could fractalize. This is how we have the ability to pull our consciousness up and out and to project it into a different lifetime that's currently running right now. All of your past lifetimes, all your future ones, they're all happening right now in this very moment. There's no such thing as time and space. It's only a perception. So when we have the ability to do this, now you can take your consciousness up and you can implant it into a different version of you. So it may be like Earth 2, Earth 3. And so it may look very, very similar. This is how we naturally shift. By changing our emotional frequencies, we naturally shift into resonance with one of these other Earth frequencies, whether it be a positive frequency or a negative. That's fine. It's only a personal frequency that you are holding that shifts you. Now, each and every one of us are shifting billions and billions of times per second. And so we are, every single time your heart has a beat, it's like you're shifting. That's how fast it goes. That's what I personally have seen. It also sounds like very, very rapid, and it's just so fast. Now, imagine for 1 second that in this moment, the frequency that you're holding is very high and blissful. But the second that you do something like go into your heart, you're automatically raising your frequency, which is changing the potential outcomes of the timelines that you have available for manifestation. And so when we are just able to take a 1-minute meditation and just drop in, tune into the heart, and I am happy, I am grateful, we can actually see a biological response after 1 minute of doing this, happy and grateful. And so what happens is it's like a cascade of all these hormones that make us feel good. And that's only by dropping in and just being happy and thankful and positive. So anyone who's not feeling well, you should really just try being happy and positive, but don't do it in like the sense where you're like, oh, thank you. You can't do that. You have to spark an emotion. And so when you spark an emotion, it makes it 1,000 times more powerful. This is the reason why we close our eyes, we tune out the physical reality, and we drop inside, because inside is where all your power lies, all of it. And not only that, but you also have the power to, it's not really controlling your emotions, but it's allowing your emotions, because there is a part of this process which is like releasing resistance. And so you have to, and this goes with the fear and doubt as well, you have to just release all of that and just put your life in God's hands to a degree. Now, what that means is I had to do it when I was a cripple. There was a moment that I specifically remember. I was walking down the road. I was limping. It was horrible. And I was like, in my mind, I kept having the thought, if this is the way it is, and this is the way I have to live, then that's it. I just had to make that choice. And I was like, fine, it is what it is. We're just going to keep going. And so, but the second I did that, I had no idea that it actually released a whole bunch of resistance that was in my energetic grids. And so that's very, very important to do, because many people, specifically this past week, those people who have very large things that they're about to fire off and manifest, right? We went through a period of releasing resistance, which was being okay if it didn't happen. And so I went through this whole process, and I was like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It really doesn't matter, because I'm alive, I'm healthy, I have my kids. Like, I started counting my blessings, right? And the second that you count your blessings and you're just thankful, like, thank you, God, for giving me today. I have air in my lungs. I have my children are safe. The electricity's on. The water is paid. All my stuff. My car works, right? Everything is fine. Now I have the ability to get into a car and go climb a mountain, which we did today. We walked a track. We didn't climb a mountain, but we went out in nature, right? And so I'm happy and thankful and blessed for everything that I have. I can walk, right? In 2019, I really couldn't walk. I was a mess. So every morning I wake up, bam, there's that gratitude, right? Thank you, I can walk. Thank you, I'm here, I'm alive, everything is well. And so we have this potential to just allow and to release the resistance. Like, it's fine. Wherever the universe is going to take my life tomorrow, then that's where I was meant to be. And so, but that also comes right back into the now moment. Right now, in this moment, I am the person that the world needs. And I'm the person that I need to be. And this is okay to be just me. And anyone else's judgment around me, it doesn't matter. Because the only thing that matters is I'm okay and I'm at peace with myself. You guys have to get to that level, because that level there, it kicks a whole lot of resistance off of you. Then all of a sudden, the only thing that really matters is you being happy and serving yourself and staying true to yourself. And so when you do that, it's like nothing else matters. I'm just going to choose to be happy for myself. And then all of a sudden, your frequency magically raises like overnight. And when it magically raises, then you have real potential to shine your light far and wide. That's how you're able to help so many people. It's because you had to go through this process of releasing the resistance, being at peace with what is here now in the moment, and just putting your life in God's hands and saying, thank you. Take me and use me as a tool for your journey to help other people and be of service to the collective. And so it's a whole mentality. It changes everything in your life. And it really is being thankful and grateful, and right. And then you start to enjoy each and every moment, because you realize, well, if 5 minutes ago was a crummy moment, I could stop everything that I'm doing and I could change my emotion so that this moment is positive. That's my power. And that's where our power lies, because the more and more we do that, the more light or love we encode and we ground it into Mother Earth. Now, that's really important, is to talk about earth grounding, because all of us have heard earth grounding. You take your shoes off, you walk on the earth, right? She starts to heal you, all the stuff. But we're starseeds. We're sent here to harness this magnetic love. And so I want you just to imagine that your chi energetics are coming up. That's the Schumann resonance. That's the electricity. That's coming from the sun, blasted down onto the earth. We step barefoot on the feet. We're connected. And now that chi energetic or electricity or masculine energetic, it's coming up our physical form, out the top of our head. But we're starseeds. We're meant to draw down a form of magnetism, which is love. And so the chi energetics are coming up, your magnetism comes down, right? And so we are pulling this magnetism down and sending it into Mother Earth, which then changes her biological frequency and starts the process of evolution for all of the people who surround us. This is how important it is to take your shoes off, stand on the earth, and be happy and in love. If we did this once a day, imagine every single person watching. Imagine we made it a mantra to do it at 12 noon. Right? For 1 minute, you kick your shoes off, you stand on the earth, and you just imagine pulling this love into the earth and allowing her to raise her frequency. We can scientifically see that her frequency has an impact on the way people think, right? We can tell the second her frequency drops, all of a sudden we'll see trauma happen in a location because her frequency dropped. She's a conscious sentient being. When we send her love, we are giving her frequency of magnetism, which raises her biological frequency, and it then shifts what is happening outside your door. The snow is cold. Now, here's this, because my family's from New York and they're from Long Island. It's not like upstate New York, it's Long Island. And so I'm up a mountain here in Pennsylvania. We had one dusting of snow. I have been all send the love and light, right? No snow for me. And there's not really been any snow. The one snowstorm we had, that was it. So when you guys are having snow, the weather is also controlled by Mother Earth's biological frequency. And so when you start to drop down and start to send her love and light and thank her, now visualize what weather that you wish to see. How does it make you feel? Do you feel nice and warmth on your face? Do you feel love? Right? I grew up on Long Island, so I visualize being at the beach. My little feet are burning in the sand, and I'm thankful for the sunshine hitting me. And I'm just like, thank you, Lord, for this beautiful blue sky, sunshiny, warm day. And so, but that's what I do. I visualize it. I see the blue sky. I feel the heat washing over my body. I imagine my feet are burning from standing in the sand. Right. So I'm visualizing, this is it. And then all of a sudden, even if it's crummy out, you have to release. What the hell was that? There's something over here. I don't know if you guys saw it. I saw it. Okay. Just a moment of silence. We're going to wave. It looked like a white light that was super tiny. I don't know if you guys saw that. I saw it and it moved and like it stayed there for a while. So wild. Okay. Anyway, so when you visualize different weather patterns, you can drop into the heart and you can project them. Now, this goes right back to instantaneous manifestation, because the second that we have the ability to manifest, we already have it. It's already active. I think it's the government, man, because I can feel him. Okay. So the second that we know that we can activate these different types of abilities and we can change our biological frequency, which changes what we see in the outside world, then all of a sudden the question is, how do we get the job done? And I know it's so funny. It's not funny though. Like I feel him pushing my neck. It's crazy. Okay. And so the second that we can learn to harness our emotional frequencies, then all of a sudden it will change what we see in the outside world. And that specifically is because each and every one of us is plugged into our own holographic simulation in which we can pull the energies down and up and then radiate them out into the location around us as well as the solar system. Because we don't just stop here in this earth. Everything that we see in the solar system, whether it's a galaxy, a nebula, Saturn, all that stuff is still connected into our frequency. Otherwise, time and space would be completely different. And so some people on this planet, they come from a reality in which they have no understanding of space. We even have people who see things in 2D on this planet. And so there's different Aboriginal tribes. And when they see the world, they see themselves connected. So when they are looking at a tree, they see the tree as part of themselves. That is their perspective. They do not see any difference between themselves and between the outside world. That's 2D. Now, think about it too, because I was just having this conversation with my kids. We have The Sims. The Sims is 2D. It's on a flat screen. It's a computer system. It's a computer program. Now, we have, computer engineers who have programmed consciousness into The Sims. So that little character goes, and that little character, he goes to work, he finds a wife, he does X, Y, and Z, he has a whole life, right? And so, but what is that? You just program consciousness into a computer system. So that's 2D, and then now we're 3D, and so the star people are 4 and 5D and higher. So the Arcturians, they're different. You have to realize that on each planet, what they're saying is there's different levels of consciousness all existing and having a co-creation. And so on our planet here, we see crystals. Crystals are more 2D. So we don't really see them as being alive, even though now we can tell that they are and they contain consciousness. There's a consciousness grid for each and every different type of crystal. And then we can make two-way telepathy or communications with the crystal, and we can be given access. Mother Earth also has a type of crystalline core. And so there's different caverns of crystals. There's all the crystals come from Mother Earth. So this tiny piece of crystal came from Mother Earth. So that right there should tell each and every one of us that if we can make telepathy, communication with this crystal, we can start to communicate directly with Mother Earth as well. Now, think about it from this perspective. Crystals hold memory. So every single time that I've ever done a live, this crystal has been right with me. And so when we one day have the technology, we will be able to take this crystal, plug it into a computer, and see every single live stream that I've ever done in a holographic simulation. And so you will be able to be here, standing in the room, experiencing everything here. Now, we don't need the technology. And this is part of the extrasensory ability. Some people on this planet are crystal keepers. The crystal keepers can take the crystal and they can go into the crystal. It's the same as staring into a crystal ball. That's the beginning of accessing the gift. And so when we have this potential, now we can allow the two-way communication to be open and unlocked, and just allow the crystal to give us the information that we need. So let's say, for an example, you need information about how to build free energy devices, then allow the crystalline kingdom to gift you the knowledge that you need. Now, many times, well, all of us here are starseeds. So if you're trying to do it from a crystal, you may just get a download from an extraterrestrial, because they are trying to help us. They're not saying that they will give out free energy technology, but certain things may be allowed. So it's always worth to ask. Whether or not you are utilizing crystal or channeling extraterrestrials, you have to always remember that you had to be in alignment with the frequency of that idea or that knowledge. If you weren't in alignment, if I wasn't in alignment with any of the metaphysical information, if I didn't have any attraction or pull towards it, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I would be a doctor or a nurse. Just an example. Now, you have to have some type of alignment to be in a frequency match with whatever knowledge that you are given. And so many times we take a look at the engineers on the planet. Those engineers had to be in alignment with being an engineer before that they could manifest the information that they needed to make the free energy devices that they are given. Make sense? Excellent. If I was healing people with crystals back in Atlantis, am I a crystal keeper? Those type of answers I don't usually answer on a live stream. But I love you, Caroline. Just send me a message. Okay, let's see. Let me take a sip. He is here, Melissa. I feel him now. Okay. So, access codes. Food grants access codes. That's true. And so think about it this way. If you are sick or you have a disease or distortion, then we can utilize plant-based medicine to raise your biological frequency and heal you. This is what medicine is supposed to be. It's supposed to come from nature. It's supposed to come from plants. So each and every plant has particular access codes. That access code is just a frequency that if your body feels intuitively drawn to it or attracted to it, it could be something that you need to heal a part of your energetics. So when we take it from that perspective, it changes the way we look at the plant kingdom and mushroom kingdom, because the mushrooms heal us too. The mushrooms on the trees, do your research on which ones, but reishi, chaga, all of those, the tree sucks up all of this nutrients. And then when the tree has had enough, it allows the mushroom to form, because it's pushing all of the extra nutrients out that the tree doesn't need. And so anybody who is sick, I would say start with lion's mane, chaga, reishi, cordyceps, right? Those are the four primary ones. We take it from there, and then we see how it makes us feel. There was one lady who, I want to say she had some type of cancer or something, and she took lion's mane. It was something to do in her brain, like she wasn't thinking clear or Alzheimer's or something. And so, but she took lion's mane and it healed her. So it's just absolutely beautiful. But conversations like that. Now, there are people on this planet who are all naturists. And so they may have greenhouses, but they're very they have this one-on-one relationship with the plants. Now, just wait until we already see backdoor genetic modification happening. We can see it happening with animal species, but no one's really talking about the plants. So what they can actually do is they can take plants and they can genetically modify the plants as well, so that certain plants will start to heal us. So what does that mean? We know that we have an impression of genetic modification of plants. And the impression is it's bad for us, because we know what is currently being done on the planet with the genetic GMOs, right? We know it's happening. It's not healthy. But no one's really talking about what happens when the side of the light starts genetically modifying the plants, right? So now all of a sudden the plant is going to soak up all this nutrition and heal us. So one easy baby step way that each and every stay-at-home mom can start to genetically modify on your own is by gifting your fluids to your plant. So, for example, we just got a basil plant. Now, if we continue to grow that basil plant, what we would want to do is we would either put saliva, urine, sweat, any of your biological fluids you want to put into the plant, because that plant is going to pull in all the nutrition that your body needs to heal. And this is how smart and how capable Mother Earth is. Now, remember, that plant is supposed to be in the earth. Those roots go out far and wide, and then they touch into other plants and other grass and all other roots. So if that plant sends out an electrical magnetism spark telling all the other plants, hey, this is the nutrition I need for my owner, or my they own us, actually, they feel like. But all of the other plants, it's like it's a cooperation. What is a cooperation? We work in cooperation. That's a corporation. It's supposed to be cooperation. That's what that's supposed to be. But the plants work this way. And so all the plants around say, well, this one needs this nutrients. We'll shove them all over there so they could take what they need, and then they move it, right? And so we could see this in the mushroom kingdom. They've done things with electrical magnetism where they can see the frequencies that the mushroom radiates. So we can tell this. This is scientifically proven. Absolutely amazing, though. So by us really giving back to the earth, now think about it from a very basic perspective. The farmers, they have all these animals, and the animals are grounding to the earth, but then they're distributing all their fluid, all their manure. All this stuff is going back into the farm and the vegetables. Now, we use horse manure as a fertilizer. Why do we do this? Right? Why aren't we using the human manure? And so we think, because we've been taught, this is brainwashing, or programming, I should say. Some people don't like that word. So when we've been taught that human manure is not healthy for the plants, it is incorrect. And so we have people now who are doing tiny home community living, who are taking their waste, and they're mixing it. And in 3 days, it turns into perfectly good soil, nutrient rich topsoil. And they're only taking like some sandpaper, and not sandpaper. What is it? Sawdust, he's saying. They take sawdust stuff and they mix it in, and then it turns into soil that they are using to farm. Now, think about it logically. When we have a horse, that horse is fed a certain type of diet. The horse, it's not eating everything that a human being's eating. We're eating all of this nutrition, especially the foodies, right? Those people who like to travel and try all this different food. So they're getting all of the nutritional information, because it's all information that we're accepting. It's energetic information. They're getting all of that information from different plants, different foods, all this stuff. So whose manure do you think is going to be more nutritionally sound? I know it's a whole new level, but it's also showing our connection to the earth. And so conversations like this need to be had, because when we take the sewage system here, right, the sewage system, they're taking the sewage and they're refining the water, and then they're putting that water back into our drinking water. So these are conversations that need to be had. I know it's so gross, but this is why everyone knows don't drink the tap water. But even when you buy a gallon of water, how do you know where that's coming from? Is it coming from someone else's tap water? Right? These questions have to be answered. Yeah. Okay. So we did have someone come and say they cried because of the world and the experience of the world that we live in. And so there was another one. They lost all hope. So both of these things go hand in hand with the level of consciousness that individual is holding. I've been there, so I know exactly what they feel. Now, when we release resistance, all of a sudden, all of those emotions will heal, and it will allow access into a higher frequency range. However, we have to always take into consideration that sometimes people feel like they are extra sensitive. And so, but the truth of the situation is that everything that we see in the world outside of us, it's coming from a frequency that is coming from inside of ourselves. And so, many times I didn't want to hear this either, because a part of me was thinking, well, what is the frequency that I'm holding that's allowing the chemtrails to happen? And that used to get to me. I would get so upset over it, because every single day I would see all the chemtrails and then no sunshine. And when I first woke up to the conspiracy, right, we have a calendar and we see how many days that they're spraying. And it's like, spray for 2 or 3 weeks, 1 day of sunshine. Spray it for 2 or 3 weeks, partly cloudy, right? And so, but when you see that, it really rocks your soul. It rocks you because you're like, oh my God, right? Like, we can't live like this. We need the sun because the sun makes us feel good. And so whenever I hear someone going through that, my heart goes out for them. And I always want to, right away, I love comforting people and making them feel better. But the truth of the matter is that we have to start to release the resistance, because when we feel those emotions are not dropping into love, joy, and bliss. And so the way to change the outside world is just like saying that sun prayer, right? It's just like me seeing the chemtrails today, but I don't let it make me sad or upset for the world. What I do is I feel the emotional expression of, thank you, Lord, for this beautiful blue sky, sunshiny, warm day. And I speak that to the sky every single time. Now, when we see the state of the world, we hold heart space, because some things, it's so horrific to watch. And so, but what is that horrific? That's an emotion code. And so instead of firing off like, oh my God, it's so horrific, right? And getting all stress and anxiety, what we want to do is we want to drop into the heart and send them love and light. Now, even though we know as human beings, because there's a level of physicality to being in this world. It's the same thing. Like, I have 2 kids. I want to make sure my kids are safe at all costs, just like any mom watching this. Now, when you see things that rocks you, like any type of violence or tragedy or trauma, yes, it can rock you. But what do we want to do? Allow the emotions to come up. Allow them to be whatever it is your body wants it or needs it to be. It's okay. There are some biological responses that we cannot control. Some of those would be like your stomach flipping, right? And that's your solar plexus. That happens because there's something that is traumatizing you. So allow your body to feel the response. The second that you feel somewhat calm, drop into the heart space. Now, it's important because we have to also realize that to some degree, I just saw something in my room. It was so weird. I know. The government guy's like freaking me out today, guys. I gotta chill. Let me take a sip of tea. It was like yellow eyes in my computer. Like, holy crap, it like winked at me. Woo, okay. Good Lord. Good Lord. Okay. I can't believe I just saw that shit. Just take a deep breath. Everyone take a deep breath with me. It was like an eye winked at me in my computer. Can't believe I seen that. Okay. Okay. We're going to wishy-wishy. I can't believe I just saw that. Like, so crazy, like yellow eyes in my computer. Like, dear Lord, they really know how to panic you, right? Okay, next question. Okay. So we must heal ourselves first, then we can heal others. So that is true to a degree. Now, when we start the process of going in and healing ourselves, what we are doing is we are changing the frequency. It was yellow eyes, and like it's in like the blue portion of my computer, but then like it blinked at me. It's definitely not my eyes. It like blinked at me. Because you know when you like see something and you're like, what is that? It's just weird. Okay. So we do have to heal ourselves first. Let's not let fear get to us today. Oh, we know the government guy's here. I can feel him. Okay. We must heal ourselves first. So that's totally true, because when we start the process of healing ourselves, then all of a sudden we're changing the frequency we radiate out, which then changes the frequency that we see in our independent holographic simulation. So that being said, some of us here are, I'm not stopping. So some of us are advanced healers. And now what that means is, it's very true that we have to have our house has to be in order before we go step out into the world and we really try and cultivate or grow or do good things for the world. And so look, he just paused Instagram. Are you guys still there? See? Okay. So we do have to heal ourselves first, but that's also part of the process. Now, some of us are advanced healers, And so what that means is we are able to actually assist, because all healing is self-healing. So we are able to assist other people in their healing abilities, even while we're in lower frequencies. Now, it's not always easy to do, because you really have to be like an old soul. And not only that, but it's like a form of energetic casting. So what the star people explain it as is, imagine that you're trying to cast your energetics, but you have an imbalance in one of your primary chakra systems. And so that imbalance is going to make it so you're not able to cast your energy as high. And so when we're trying to cast our energetics at someone to heal them, it basically means we want to shine as much love and light, and we're sending chi energetics at the person. So this is how it works. If you're all imbalanced, or let's say you're drinking all the time or smoking all the time, your energetics are going to be lower. You're going to be in a lower frequency, so it's not going to work as good. It's basically like adding resistance. That being said, I had someone in my life who she was diagnosed with, it was hard. And so, but in about 6 weeks, she had healed it. I was in a very low frequency, very physically focused, always smoking cigarettes, drinking soda, iced coffee, right? So that was, my frequency range was much lower to what I'm at today. So when we know this, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, yes, you should heal yourself first, because this is the natural. It's like imagine that you're an Energizer battery. If you're fully charged, you can heal people faster, right? And so, but we still have the ability to do one-off healings. Now, what I personally had to do for my neighbor at the time was I had to go in, and I was over there like 3 or 4 times a day, like feeding her constant. It was constant love and affection and making her laugh, and let's go ground to the earth, let's play with the crystals, right? And so, but it was all day, every day. And so when you have the ability to spend that kind of attention and care and devotion to a person, then there's going to be an energetic transference that's going to take place. And so if that person is really sick or doesn't feel good or has low energy, just imagine how you feel when someone really, really funny shows up. Let's say you're having a crummy day, and then you have someone really funny come up and then start cracking jokes with you. You feel a whole lot lighter instantly. That's because their energy pulses your energetic grids, and it raises your biological frequency. So it's a beautiful thing. But you can actually change your frequency in the now moment. And so let's say, for an example, you're having a crummy day, you have low energy. Let's say this is one of the easiest ways to do it, but you do as many jumping jacks as you could possibly do. You get your heart rate going. Now you stop, and then you take 30 deep breaths in. How did you feel after you did all that? Of course, it's like pulling teeth to actually get someone to get up and do that, especially when they feel like they have no energy. But just imagine for 1 second that you can do it. You can just force yourself, like you plow yourself through, right? And so you tell your body, I'm in control in this moment, and you're going to do what I tell you to do. It doesn't matter if I have pain. I still had to walk down the street when I was a cripple. I forced myself to get up every day and to go. And so sometimes your willpower comes into play, because when we have the will to survive, that will takes over every single emotion code that we run. Your emotions don't matter when you activate your will. Your will's like, we need to survive. We're going to go. You're going to get up. You're going to move. Right. And so think about density and location codes. The second people get too sick or their density levels are too low, it brings an illness, right? Their location code can get so super, super tiny. And then all of a sudden they can't leave their bed until their frequency, their density levels raise up again. So when that happens, when their density levels raise up, they start to, if you've ever been sick, you spend the week in bed, and then maybe you make it to the kitchen one day, right? Your location ring itself has expanded. And so then maybe you make it outside. Then maybe you make it, you get in the car, you go to the gas station or wherever you're going to go, right? Well, when she was sick, I forced her to go outside. She wasn't going to go outside on her own because her location code was very, very small and tiny. So sometimes you have to use your willpower. Sometimes God just puts the right person in front of you, and that person's like, go outside, right? Get out of this density that you're sitting in your house, because if you're sick in your home, right? And they even tell us that people who sleep with the windows open and they don't use air conditioning are healthier. Now, let's take this one step further. We know that there's all sorts of pollen and all sorts of material. The desert sand, it actually goes across the ocean. And we can see Egypt's sand is like washing up all over the place. So it crosses an actual ocean. It gets picked up by the wind and it goes. And so think about it for 1 second. We're all connected to this planet. So when you open your windows, you're letting Mother Earth inside. Right? Makes sense? And so then all of a sudden, we're interacting with the local environment, with honey, with all sorts of things. So it's just wonderful. Now, when you're trying to raise your frequency, if you are shoving yourself into a lower frequency range, then all of a sudden, when you start to go outside and you start to do things like walk or be in nature or any of that stuff, I saw it again. It's crazy. Okay. Then it changes your frequency that you are holding. So, okay. Having faith in the now moment. So, this is even something that all of us have to do at some time to another. Right? I'm just going to turn the computer because I keep seeing the eyes and it's freaking me out a little. So having faith in the now moment. When we start to have faith in the now moment and we know that we are protected. So even me, I know for a fact I'm protected. I know I'm so protected. I don't think anything bad can happen to me. Even though I feel, the frequency, yada, yada, all that stuff. It still doesn't scare me because I know I'm still going to be here tomorrow. I'm still going to be okay. We're going to do an energetic clearing afterwards. Like, it's fine. So fear only goes to a certain degree with me, but we always want to have faith in the now moment, that we are in the moment doing exactly what it is that we're meant to be doing or where we're meant to be. Now, each and every one of us, we may have seen signs or synchronicities, and the synchronicities like 333 on the clock, it's showing you that you're in the right place at the right time to have the experience that you are meant to have. And so when we look at our entire life that way, right? What frequency are you holding that's affecting the synchronicities? Because what reflections do you need to see back showing you that you are in the right place at the right time in every single moment? And so anytime we take a look at when we have like a flat tire, right? That flat tire, we could easily look at it. We can easily say, oh, this is crummy. But then all of a sudden, maybe someone pulls up, helps you change the tire, and then you end up marrying that person. Right? So we don't know how the universe is going to react and respond to us. We kind of have to just have faith in the now moment and just try and hold your emotions with love and light. So 3 more things that we're going to discuss. Family lineage. Let me just take a sip. I can't decide. Let's do water. Okay. Family lineage. So many starseeds, we chose to come into the holographic simulation and we chose to reincarnate into families that needed the most amount of density removed from the energetic grids. And so what does that mean? Many of us have manifested into a lot of chaos encoded families. And so they may have a lot of fighting or yada, 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 or whatever the situation is. You guys each know what your family has inside of it. Some people, it was only a disease. Not only some people, it was diseases that they manifested through the family. Maybe the family loves each other. Other people took on traumas. Other people took on chaos. Everything, every single potential to manifest, we've all taken on. And this is incorporated into the family lineage. And so when we want to speak about family lineage, you have to remember all of the epigenetics is encoded into the DNA of the entire family. That's only in the physical. That's in your physical body. Now, we haven't even begun to tune into the energetics of the family, because when you have one survivor, you only need one person to break any cycle in the family. So let's say, for an example, let's say grandmother, mother, daughter, all of them had cancer, any type of cancer, whatever. This is fictional. Now, all of a sudden, the granddaughter comes along and she goes, not today, universe. And she heals it with love and light. She did Reiki on it. Right? So that one person, I just moved I just saw the eyes again. And I totally moved the computer off to the side so that I would not see eyes. It's like freaking me out. Okay, take a deep breath. Okay. So you only need one person in the family to break the cycle in order to change the energetics of the entire family. And so what that means is, now, if you have a family with so much chaos, you just need that one person to step out and say, I'm going to live life in peace. What that does is, from a physical perspective, is they are setting an example. And so that example then is something that the rest of the family can look at and say, oh, well, that person is living in peace, right? So I want to live in peace. But it's changing at a cellular level connected into the energetic grid structures. And so when this happens, then all of a sudden we can see that we can go inside. We can actually use the access codes that I was telling you guys about earlier. So you can program different things. Thank you for changing the energetics of my entire family lineage. I send them all love and light. I send them peace. I send them love. I send them prosperity. I send them joy. I send them abundance. What you're doing is you're casting your energetic at the family grid. And so I want you just to realize that each person in the family is tied by an energetic grid. This is also how we can see people who they get adopted and then all of a sudden they manifest the same exact experiences. Like, let's say they go through a nasty divorce. The father did, but he never met the father, right? It's in the energetics as well as the cycle repeats. And so think about the way the cycle repeats work. It works with the epigenetics. So it has been shown that when a physical body, it doesn't matter if it's human or like a mouse that the scientists would use in an experiment, when they traumatized the mice, the next generation held that same trauma. And then the next generation held the trauma until a generation came up that healed the trauma. When a generation came up that healed the trauma, the following generations were all healed. So whatever it is that you guys took on, it doesn't matter what traumas you guys are holding. And some of them are really bad, I know. Now, whatever it is that you guys took on, just by going through the process of healing it, you're healing it for your entire family. There will come a day and an age in which your entire family lineage, your human family lineage, as star people are saying, will eventually rise up to 5D and they will be thanking you because they will see the sacrifices that you made just by coming here and changing the energetic grid for the whole family. So it's kind of like a round of applause, a high five, and I said I wanted an iced coffee when that process happens. So each and every one of you guys can do the same. But we do hold very humble emotions, right? So thank you for giving us the experience of coming here and mastering our own emotions. Because through going through all this trauma, you're becoming a master of your own right. The more trauma that you have, the more that trauma is going to slingshot you up into the crystalline frequencies. So people don't really know that each frequency range. So we'll take 5D for an example, right? It fractals outward. And so, yes, 5D is kind of like, they're showing me, okay, like a notebook. So we have a notebook. We have a bunch of little lines on the notebook, right? 5D is the entire page. And then there's a bunch of different lines. So each level of consciousness you're going to go through is one of the lines. Or he's saying it's like the stepping stone, right? So each line on the page is a stepping stone. And then you go through all of these different experiences. Many of the experiences that we actually go through are pre-planned. So it's like the dream walker ability. You pre-plan what you want to have in your level of consciousness. You wake up, you experience it, and then all of a sudden you heal all these emotions, and then you go into the next line or the next brick of consciousness. And so it can fractalize outward as many times as the individual needs. It's the primary individual. So for each and every one of you, your page can be short or your page can be long, depending on what you need to learn. The more you hold love and light, it shortens the page. That's how it works. It's genius, absolute genius. And so when we go in and then all of a sudden we're releasing all of the fears, we're releasing all of the negative toxic emotions, we're releasing our own traumas, we're releasing it from the physical body as well as the energetic grids, right? This is all the shadow work that we are meant to do. But then not only that, we have to have some fun with the spirituality. So while we're doing all of this releasing in the energetics, let's call forward. Now let's talk about instantaneous downloads of knowledge. That's possible. So let's say, for an example, you're a baker. So you're a baker. You need to download information about how to bake a cake. You don't have time to go look for a recipe. You need to know how to do it right now. Time and space is a perception. It is not solid. It is fluid. And so you can just for one moment, just imagine that you have the ability to instantaneously, he's like choking me. Okay, we'll do it one more time. Like I felt it. It's crazy. That's so crazy. This is on fire. Like tonight was a really good channeling though. Okay. So just imagine for 1 second that you want to download all this information, right? How it works is you go inside, right? And in the beginning, we're going to have to be dropping into meditation a little bit until we get the hang of it. Then it's going to be like wham, instantaneous. Now, when you're holding a really high frequency, the downloads are instantaneous naturally. And so you'll just have a bright idea and then it's like, bop, 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 you make it happen because there's no time to drop in a meditation and ask for the idea. However, think about the 3D perspective, right? We had to drop into the meditation to allow access into the Akashic and give us the knowledge that we needed. That's okay too. I believe Steve Jobs did it when he was making the iPhone. He was meditating, getting all these brilliant ideas, and then putting them in the phone. Wonderful. But that's the early stage of the gift. We want to start to raise our frequency so that the downloads become instantaneous. Perfect, right? So each and every one of us, we can start to do it now. We do not have to wait. Now, because time and space is fluid, the way that it actually works is that we go inside, we change our frequency, and we are shifting into a parallel reality in which we may have experienced the memory of baking the cake and remembering each and every one of the steps in the recipe for baking the cake. And so when we go through and we do an instantaneous timeline shift, you may start with one memory of the timeline that you were just on, and then a new memory of the new timeline will come, but it'll feel like a deja vu. That's what deja vus are. It's changing the frequency or the alignment and shifting into a parallel reality. Now, of course, how do you prove this? You prove it to yourself because it doesn't matter. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. So the more and more that you start to make these shifts, you may notice that people, places, and things outside of you change. So we shifted one day, and then we went on a walk that we have walked many times before, and then all of a sudden, a really old bakery showed up. This bakery looked like it had been here for like 40 years, right? But it's nice and it's clean, it's pretty, and it's old. But we had never seen it before, and we had been up and down the street a million times. How many times has that happened to you guys? It's a shift into a parallel reality. Now, there's billions of different realities happening right now in this moment. It's all a mirror reflection, or like just imagine they're showing me like a ripple. I always felt that deja vu meant I was right where I'm supposed to be. You are. You absolutely are. Because think about the deja vu. You're shifting into a reality in which this is the reality that you are vibrationally in alignment with. And then all of a sudden, the memory is catching up to you. So you are right where you were supposed to be in that moment. Now, there's different deja vus and there's different types of timeline shifts that manifest over 3 days, over 6 days, and 30 days. And so many times when you do one pattern for 30 days, it becomes solid in the hologram because you just experienced it for 30 days. So think about losing weight. Many times after the third day, you're like solid, like, okay, I got this. Now you're set into your schedule or you're set into your new patterns, right? But then all of a sudden, 30 days comes by and it's like you feel completely like a different person. Your whole life can change in 30 days. That's how strong we are, by the way. And so calling upon the higher self is, or your highest potential, the star people are saying, is a wonderful way to do it. Because let's say, for an example, you made the list, right? Who is my highest potential? How do you see yourself? Do you see yourself as beautiful? Do you see yourself getting up early? Do you see yourself eating healthy, drinking the best water ever, non-fluorinated, right? Vortex, so you're having a spiral in it, so it gains energy, loving and blessing all of your food. What is it that you guys do? What do you guys feel attracted to do? Because not everything that I do, you guys are going to be in alignment with. That's okay too. It's perfectly okay. I do what I do. I try things and then sometimes they fall out and then sometimes I try them again. I have had to fail 1,000 times over on some things and then I got it right once and then that was a wrap. It was done. So it's okay to fail. It's okay to fail 1,000,000 times. You only have to get it right once. Once is like, that's it. It's a wrap. I've done it. Right. And so you should never put yourself against someone else or judge yourself against someone else's standards, because you don't know the fire that that other person walked through to get to where they are today. You should instead take them as like an inspiration. And so, okay, so what did you do to get to where you are? So give me the list of what you're doing and let me see what resonates with me. And then I'll take that list and I'll make my own list. And then I'll put my own personality and myself into the list. And then I'll make it right for me. Right. And so that's what I do. I don't listen to everything from other people. I have always been that person who's to the beat of their own drum. I've always been that one. Right. Many of us have been too. Something keeps kicking me out of the live. As soon as I come back in, your voice is weird. Yeah, I think it's a government man is messing with us. I mean, he got TikTok too, right? He paused it. So, and I could feel him here. I'm not stopping though, even if it's choppy, because it's principle at this point. We're going to keep going. Okay. Past timelines. So let's talk about past timelines. So when we look at a past timeline, you can have conscious memory. Now we see it as, oh no, not my kids. My kids are all quiet right now. So I don't hear anything. Don't freak me out, Melissa. I saw eyes, like I moved the computer over and I saw yellow eyes in the computer. It was like a reflection. Like, you know, when the computer has a reflection. So crazy. Hey, okay. Past timelines. Let's get back on track. Okay. So when we take a look at past timelines, you're looking at your memory grid complex. And so you're imagining or visualizing, or you're having a memory come up of your past. Now, that's wonderful, but your past is fluid in its nature. So what that means is you can actually go inside yourself and you can make changes. So you can change the memory that you're actually holding. Now, what's going to give you more power? Sage is wonderful. Wait a second. You know what? I think it's funny because he's a real physical person who's cloaked. And like one of the first times he came, like I rang a little bell. Look how tiny this tiny little bell is. Right? I rang it at him and the star people, I heard them like laughing. They were like, that's not going to work. He's a real person. Right? But that's the same thing. My first like intuition was Sage and all the stuff. And he's a real live person. If someone was in the street yelling and screaming at me and I was like, hold on, let me get my Sage, right? What would happen? He probably would sit there and laugh, right? Everyone ends up laughing. It's so funny. Okay. So past timelines. When we go in to ourselves, we have the ability and the potential to shift our past. Now, we've all seen people do this, because have you ever spoke to someone and they just completely remembered things wrong? And you're just like, were you at the same event as me? Right? Did you see that? We see this happening with car accidents. Not to bring up car accidents again, but we can have 3 or 4 people witness the same car accident and they all have different stories. And so how is that possible? That's because each and every one of us is plugged into a holographic simulation, and we're all running our own independent memory complex grids. Your memory complex grids is made up of your emotions, which is blue, and your thoughts, which is yellow. It's really like a really bright white light, but it's got a hint of yellow to it. You put blue and yellow together, it's green. Your memory complex is green in its color, and it's an icosahedron, which surrounds the physical body. Now, this is important because you can close your eyes, you can visualize this grid surrounding your body, and you can look for any black spots, right? And so then the star people always have me pull up a square. So just imagine a DOS prompt is a square, right? And so when I visualize the energetic grid, if I see blackness or density in the memory grid, I pull up a square and then I expand it and I make it bigger. And so when I do this, what you're doing is you're training your subconscious mind to open the memory of whatever is causing that density. Now, that's only one way of doing it, to use your creative. If you have to use your body, okay, that's just one way. The truth is that you can call it up any way that you see fit. Many times we can, because it's natural human behavior to want to allow something else outside of you to do it for you. And so it's really easy if you just ask your higher self for an answer. The higher self is always going to answer you. It's always going to give you something that you need. And the higher self, whenever we allow it to guide us, is because the higher self sees the entire timeline that we're on. And so if it sees certain densities that are worse than what we would have picked, it's going to pick those to heal first, because then it knows we'll really slingshot into the higher frequency realms. So you can ask the higher self, thank you, higher self, for giving me the memory of a trauma that needs to be cleared. Once again, you are closing your eyes. Take a deep breath in. Right? I always do this. So I don't know why. This is what the star people have me do when I was healing. And so you put your thumbs on your heart. And this is what I do during my sessions too. And then I take a deep breath in. And then I allow the higher self to give me whatever memory needs to come so I can heal. Now you can also go into each and every one of the chakras. So vision red, visualize red, the color red surrounding me. Now I'm in the root chakra. Now, thank you, higher self, for giving me the emotion, the trauma, the memory, whatever it is that you want to give me that needs to be healed. You can also ask for attachments. We just did an attachment class. The attachment master class, it ran on for about 2 hours. It was absolutely amazing. So I am thinking about doing another one. So just let me know if you guys are interested in having another class, and I'll do it. It's okay. We don't record those because those are the star people said with the attachments, it's like dealing with a lot of low toxic emotions or frequencies. So we really don't want to record that type of information. So yeah, you do need a class. Okay, so then I'll set one up. We'll do one. Perfect. Okay, so ancestral karma clearings. Now this one, it's so funny. We already had this topic come up, and it's coming up again. So your ancestral karma, just imagine that karma, that density gets imprinted inside of both your DNA as well as your energetic grid structure. Now, many times what the star people are saying is you may go into the different chakra subsystems. So let's say, for an example, we're dealing with the orange chakra, right? And it's circular. Now, imagine you cut it in half, right? You have your masculine, which is on your right-hand side. You have your feminine, which is on your left-hand side. These are subsystems. The whole thing is a system. You want to separate it. It's subsystems, because then you can expand each and every one. So you can dive into the feminine, right? And so when we see a lot of trauma pertaining to social or intimacy or empath and narcissism, that's another one. So we want to expand. Where is the density? Is it in the left or the right? And then we can tell, okay, it's in the left, so it's in the female side. So your female energetics automatically have an imbalance. Now, if you took a look at the chakras themselves under technology, you can actually see the chakra slid out to one side or slid out to the other side. So this is how we know, is it masculine? Is it feminine? Then we want to expand. We take our square and we expand. Thank you, higher self, for giving me the memory of whatever that needs to be healed in this side. That's only one way of doing it. Now, I put a piece of quartz. Let me see. This piece of quartz. This little bowl, it was attached to my car mirror. It was something that I had purchased from my mom when I was a little kid. It stayed with the car. They gave me the car, and then it was still in the car. And there was once upon a time, I was sitting on my front step because I used to smoke. And I kept hearing this voice inside my mind saying, go get the crystal from the car. You're not using it correctly. And I had heard this voice over and over. It was for weeks. And I was like, nah, whatever, I'm not going over there. Right. And so I just didn't do it. But then the one day I actually listened and I went over and got the crystal, I had held it from the moment I cut it off the car mirror. So I held it. And by the time I got back to the front step and I stood there, and I was thinking that the whole time it was retarded. I'm not even going to lie. But then all of a sudden I felt my Kundalini energy had completely pulled itself up, and I felt it out the top of my head. And I was like, what the hell was that? Right. Because at that point, I had felt something had happened. So it totally freaked me out at the time, as most things do. But then I want to say, now I knew all the information. A couple years goes by. And then my aunt comes to the house. I shouldn't even say her name. But she came to the house. She was ill at the time. And so I put a piece of quartz in her hand, and then she felt the same exact thing. And that's when I was like, that's what we do. So now anyone who's sick or has a disease or anything, right, automatically I go to quartz. Just hold the piece of quartz and see how it makes you feel. Of course, your chakras have to be like really wide or really imbalanced to the left or to the right, and then you'll feel them like they snap back into place. Sometimes they will not snap all the way back into place. So the star people are saying it's if they have like, I guess, depression or a very low frequency range, it will cause that to come. So anyone that you know that doesn't feel good, right away, give them a piece of quartz. Just even if you get one of the cheap necklaces on Amazon, right? They have the circular ones. It's like a donut with a black cord on it. I would give them one of those because the circular crystals, it radiates out. And so the circles is what generates vortexes. So if they're placing one of those on top of their heart, it's naturally going to have a vortex energetic to it. You pulled your root out today and heard a low sound from my right. Yeah, it is real. This is totally real. And not only that, but I see it because, I mean, I do sessions with people and then I pull at their energetic grids and I go through all their energetics, right? So I see their lives before and after the sessions. I see the cycle repeats coming back. I see how they have had things that were very chaotic and then it starts to heal right away. And this is so many people. It's uncountable at this point. So it's, to me, I consider it all a miracle because I'm like, oh, wow, they healed a whole bunch of stuff. Right. And so the energetics is always number one. If you don't feel good, you can't leave your bed, you're sick, right? Let's say you're down and out, you have a flu for a week, whatever. You're in bed anyway. Put your phone down and focus on your energetic grids and see what changes, right? You have a throat problem. The crystals can help. The universe gifted me this one. I did a raffle once in a crystal shop and there was like six bags, I think 6 bags. And I won 4 of them. This was one that I won. It's just so huge. And it's communication. So now I leave it by the computer anytime I'm talking, right? If we have to swishy it, we ring our little bell. It's the cutest little thing. So, excellent. Okay, so that was the last question. So I guess we are, because now we had 2 different people want to do an attachment class. And so I will set up another class, and I guess I'll post. Well, I think I posted both Facebook and Instagram. Not sure. Does anyone have any questions? Excellent. I'll take a sip. I'll give you guys a minute. Melissa, I have this great idea because I download all these ideas instantly, but I'm not going to sit here and make blankets. That's not why I'm on the planet. But I have this idea to make a blanket. It can even be one of the ones that goes over your head like a hood, and then it's like a round shawl. And well, the bell is like church bells, right? It clears the energetics. So the blanket, imagine with a hood, and it comes like a poncho, the star people are saying. Poncho is the more appropriate word. Thank you. And so, but it has little zipper pockets so that you can put your crystal and zip it so that you can sit in a meditation state and this poncho can completely surround you. Or even if it just goes up the chakras and back the back chakras, and then you can put your crystals inside the poncho. That's one idea. The second idea is someone needs to make a blanket. You guys can copy, make the blanket. Just please send me one. Right? And so make a blanket so that when I'm sleeping, I can put my crystals in the zipper pockets so that they don't scoot and scatter off my bed and get lost. Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, I mean, it would be totally a great idea, right? Like I've seen some companies take the crystals and mush them down and then they're using them as paints, which is wonderful too. But I really think, like, if you take a look at weighted blankets, now I would pay good money for like a slightly, not like one of those heavy duty blankets, but a very slightly weighted blanket with like the crystals in it. That would be amazing. So by all means, yeah, I need it. I'm like, yes, honey. It's a poncho. Yes. When I run, I place them under my wristbands. Yeah, that's cool too. I had a Batman belt once. It wasn't actually a Batman belt. It was one of those exercise belts that has a little clip and you zip the whole thing. And like, I was ridiculous at one point because I was in toxic frequencies. And so I had all my crystals in there. It was like 20 pounds worth of rocks. And so I would take it off and then I would feel the weight. Right? I would feel all the density and then I would put it on. I felt lighter and I was like, this is crazy. I'm putting 20 pounds of rocks on myself and I feel lighter. I'm like, there's something wrong with this. But then I would go outside and then I would take it off and feel good. So, but yeah, no, it really, really works. And so what I did was I went out and I got like palm stones. So like the round ones that are smooth and I put them all underneath my pillow. But you know, it shifts all over the place. And then you end up with a knot in your neck because the crystal shifts. Will putting quartz crystals in water bring back its life force energy? It certainly helps. Now, each crystal can be programmed. And so you don't actually have to have the crystal inside the water. You can. It's a little bit stronger when you put it direct contact, especially if it's a glass jar. Light ions, they do not transmit in glass. And so you can see we have like the windows have a UV, but glass naturally doesn't allow a transference of light ions. So what they actually did was they put he's saying baby ducks. And so baby ducks, imagine all the baby ducks are in this like glass container. And so you have the large herd, but then they put a little one separate. And so because they're covered in glass, the large herd doesn't send the love and the light to the sick little duckling. So he doesn't get healed. Now, all of a sudden, they start putting him in plastic, and that duck who's put aside, now he starts healing. And so there's an energetic transference that happens, but it doesn't happen through glass. Something about the glass blocks it. It does not block it fully, because the star people are saying glass is still made out of source frequency, but it blocks us from casting. Makes sense? Now, also, there are certain types of crystals that you want to be careful, because selenite, for an example, you cannot put selenite in water because it will start to deteriorate and like melt. So just be careful with what crystals, if you do put it in the water, the star people are saying, because certains can ruin the crystals. Now, moldavite is wonderful. It's actually a healer's stone. Moldavite came from an asteroid. And so this is my little piece. I got this a long time ago, but prices skyrocketed. But yeah, so I save it. I put it in a glass jar. Now, moldavite, think about what it does. It actually pulses your energetic grids, which forces you to remove density. And so a lot of times when people are in a low or dense frequency range and they come into contact with moldavite, it'll make them sick because they're holding too much to release at once. And so, that's how that works. Now, when they raise their frequency, they may be able to come into contact with moldavite. They are expensive in the United States. So, well, we shouldn't even affirm that. They're whatever. It is what it is. We love and bless you, moldavite. I find that when I say things like that, I'm like, oh, that's expensive, the cost goes up. And so it's just very powerful when I do it. For some reason, I was complaining like over $5 milk once, and now it's like $7 and change for a gallon of milk. So now I'm like, zip it, right? Don't affirm that it's expensive. Just say it is what it is, right? Otherwise, it'll get you. Yeah, I actually had one from the one of my friends gave me this one. This one has a tiny piece of moldavite in it. This is from Jacob. See? And then there's a different type of meteorite in the middle, and then a Herkimer in there. I think that's a Herkimer. Or it's quartz. Either one. But I have it on the side here. Yeah, I love crystals. Well, I gave away so many crystals. We actually had, I should just show you guys. We had more Andara crystals come in. And so let me just go get them, because you guys are going to be amazed with these. Okay, so here we go. I don't know if you guys can see all of them. Instagram probably can. You guys see all the crazy colorings on these? Like, just amazing. So I'm going to be putting the crystal package so that you guys can get a piece of these. We're going to work it out. Like, they're just so beautiful. Look at this color. It's like blue. Gorgeous. And I didn't even know that they come in all sorts of different colors. Absolutely amazing. So these I do want to gift out to you guys. So, oh, okay. Anna, I mailed them. They should be there soon. I mailed those a while back. Oh, you're probably overseas. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but these are amazing. And Dara's. So someone actually put in the chat room what each color meant. Of course, I had the question like, what does each color mean? And oh, this is a piece of fluorite. This one was mine. But over here, does anyone have any more questions? These are gorgeous, by the way. So I love them. I bless them. Right. And so I don't know if you guys know what DNA downloads are. Do you guys know what that is? Just send me a message. Always love 7, and we'll figure it out. Each crystal, and this goes for any item in the physical reality that you see. And so each crystal you can take, you can just, for an example, hold it in your hand and then visualize DNA activations on people. Now, each one of the extrasensory abilities is encoded into our junk DNA. And so when we start doing DNA activations, of course, humbly, we ask the star people to help us to do this. They will only do it to a degree in which it won't cause harm. They can see through time and space. So they can see if they're going to give you an ability to like generate fireballs, if you're going to go around, burning down buildings and stuff, they won't do it because they can see what's going to happen. So when we start to work with crystals, we can visualize and see and sense DNA activations. Now, it also can be done per person. And so when we do DNA, when we do sessions with people or healing sessions with people, we're pulling apart the energetic grids. You can also reprogram the energetic grids. And so if I'm looking into like the root chakra, for an example, right? Let's say they're having chaos in the root chakra. Automatically, I see chaos as they're having trouble manifesting things. And so what we do at that moment is I take it like it's a puzzle piece, because each one of the energetic grids has different shapes. And so I pull it out and I reprogram it. I coat it with love and life, and then I put it back in. And so if they're having issues with abundance, it's a manifestation that gets directly inputted into their energetic grid structures. Now, what I do overall is I do the entire root chakra, and then I go and I program different things. And then you can program crystals. And so when we work with crystals, we can program DNA activations for any extrasensory ability that the person has an attunement to. The star people always say it should be an attunement first. They have to want it. And so they have to have it in alignment. When I do the ascension sessions, which are on sale until tonight, midnight, by the way. So we knocked $100 off of those. So the price goes back to the regular after midnight. Today's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. Yeah, beautiful. Bruno, send me a message, honey. So, yeah, how can we heal water, bring back life force? So there's many different ways, but from what I have seen and from what the star people have taught me, you can take the water, you can hold it up to your heart, you can bless it. And so the more you say, thank you, I love you, thank you, it generates a vortex energetic inside the water. Now, you'll see this if you take the water, you hold it up to your heart, you send love and light into it, or thankfulness or gratitude. You can do a combination of words, mantras, right? Anything that you think, thank you for healing my abundance coding, just like a DNA activation. You can program it into the water. You can program it into a crystal. Then the water or the crystal is holding that frequency that you just programmed into it. The water is super good to do because that water gets inside of you at the cellular levels. So when we start to work with the water, it's the easiest way to heal people. Thank you, water, for healing whoever drinks you. I love and bless you. You imagine, you visualize the water turning into a bright light. So close your eyes and visualize it. There's an easy way to do this with your bath water too, because if you're going to sit in the saltwater bath and soak, right? And it's a big thing right now because we are starting to work with the attachments, starting to kick them off of people. And so this is why my hair's curly, because you do attachment clearings, you got to get into the bath. You don't really have a choice, right? And I do these constantly now. So it's all the time. Now, when we start to, you can place your hands on top of the water and just visually see it as lit up or like light inside the water, and thank it for raising your biological frequency so that you can tune into 5D frequency bandwidth. Now, what we accidentally did, I bought this disco bath bomb for my kids. And so it came with a little LED light inside of it. And so now all of a sudden I'm going to take a bath and I knocked a little light in the water, and now the bath water is lit up and it has bubbles. So now I'm looking at the bath water and I'm like, it's lit up. But that was a manifestation I was doing before we got the light. I would put my hands in the top of the water and I would say, thank you for being full of light. And now, do you see what I mean? Yes, it seems so small, but it's a mirror reflection of a manifestation that I was doing. And so what that means is it starts like this. You start with the little neon light, but then all of a sudden you do it more and more and more, and you believe, because now you could see it. You see it as a mirror reflection of something that you were trying to manifest. And then all of a sudden, the universe will reorganize itself to give you the ability and potential to actually light up the water with your hands. That's how powerful this is. And yeah, oh yeah, it's so, it came in so literal. It's crazy. Like, I see so many of these reflections. I'm like, damn, I had a conversation with somebody once, and I swear to God, I was talking to myself. I was like, damn, like, I haven't spoken to that person. It was over 6 months. And so she had a conversation with her ex on the same exact day as I had a conversation with my ex. Her conversation was them arguing over auto insurance. My conversation was me arguing with him over auto insurance. And then both of us ended up on the phone talking about the conversations we were having. What are the odds of that happening? It's got to be astronomical. Astronomical. And so, but the second you see it as a mirror reflection, it's like, oh, okay, well, those two people are a mirror reflection of me and, you know, my situation. And so, but that's how you start to open your eyes to, it's a mirror reflection. It's a ripple effect. There's only one organism here. This is the whole process of evolution. Even when dealing with a star person, right? That star person, my star man, he's at a higher frequency range. So he went through this whole process, or he was just born in 5D, or he just manifested in there. He's saying he was born. So they're born in 5D, he's saying. So that's wonderful too, because your soul can experience a different reality in a higher density level, right? You don't actually have to go through this process. He's saying that they can come in, they can do a 5D life, they can drop into 3D, you can go up to the heavens and the angel realm, which is everything. I should have known this. This is everything that they've been telling everyone in the sessions too. They're like, oh, you're an ascended masters. You came from the high frequency range. You came into the internship program. So basically, what the star people do now is they take like people from the 5D or higher frequency range. They call them ascended masters. And they drop them into different extraterrestrial lives on like a little bit more peaceful of a planet first, so that the soul form gets used to being physically focused in a physical body. And then they drop them back down into Earth when the soul is ready. Otherwise, it would cause too much chaos and they could potentially get stuck or trapped in the human experience. Right? Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, you have a friend like that, you mirror like crazy, months can go by and same thing. Yeah, because they're a mirror reflection of what's inside of you. So take that 10 levels deeper, because now when we start seeing, okay, well, wait a minute, it's like you're walking in the civilization and now you're seeing things, and that's even a mirror reflection of what's coming in inside of you. It's the same exact thing. It goes deeper and deeper. So when whatever you put your focus on grows. And so what are you guys focusing on daily? Now, what we were doing a power 3 at the time to win the lottery, because back then it was like, well, and I've done this with a couple people. It wasn't just one, because I knew it would work, but I didn't realize that the star people had other plans for me, because I was meant to do grassroots like this, because it was my purpose to help people this way. And so after they explained it to me, it made sense. But back then, I wanted the millions, because I wanted to open a tiny home community, and I wanted everyone to come live for free, and we grow food and we have fun and we activate magical abilities. That's what I was trying to do. I've tried to do it 2 times. Now, power of 3s is a very, very real thing. When it's something small, it always comes. You want to change the weather? You do a power of 3. It's done. It changed right away. My kids made snow. They only had 2 people. So when you do something that's in the benefit of all, it happens even quicker, because it's in service. Now, yeah, it's about playing the lotto, but you didn't. Well, let me tell you something. When we were doing the power of 3, the Mega Millions went up to like $500 million. I knew, and it was over the course of, a week or two, but I knew that we were affecting it. On the very last day, I got angry. This is when I was physically focused. This is before, this is 2019. And so at the last minute, I was like, I don't want to win. And then somebody else won. But if we would have kept going with it, right, I believe we probably would have won then. Now, we did it a second time, and I started to notice it started to climb as well. And so the amount of money climbed. Like nobody won the mega. It kept climbing and climbing. And so it's not normal for Mega Million to go up to like 500 million. It's just not normal. So if you're sitting there and you're doing power threes and that happens, right, you have to know it's like a random number generator. You're having an effect on the quantum field. So whatever you're placing your focus on, it's adding strength to that manifestation panning to light or coming into your physical world. So this is the way it works. But think about it from a different perspective now. Now, instead of thinking about money, because now money's kind of irrelevant, if you think about the big picture, now it's more like, let's manifest magical abilities for all humanity so that we don't need money anymore. We could just instantaneously manifest. Right? Can you see why it would have why they changed the timeline I was standing on? If I had the money, do you think I would be doing this? No, I would be out on a jet ski right now, hanging out, right? We would be chilling. So, like, just in all reality, it's like, okay, so they blocked me from doing that. So I would do this because this information is my highest passion. Right. And so not only that, but the reach is what they said. I'll be able to reach more people by being humble and just being a stay-at-home mom and being real with people. So, yeah, can I speak to focusing on the positive without bypassing shadow work? Well, you can't really bypass shadow work. Hold on. Your shadow work, it always comes back around in a cycle repeat. And so I know on Valentine's Day, thank you for coming. So your cycle repeats, they always come back around. So when we do the shadow work, if there's things that we do not release, they're going to come back around. And what that means is it always comes in the form of a cycle repeat. And so you're going to have the ability to look at the same exact situation a second time, because we are meant to go through, heal the emotion the first time, handle the cycle repeat with a higher frequency emotion of love and bliss. So it cancels out that energetic and it cancels the cycle repeat. Now, if we don't clear out the density, if we never touch it, right? Let's just say it's something that's in the energetic grids and we refuse to look at it. In that case, it's kind of like when you see someone hitting rock bottom. And so the same exact situation keeps happening and happening and happening to them. And it's the same low emotion or toxicity. But sometimes people in a middle frequency range, the star people are saying they won't notice it. But the behavior patterns will still be very similar to that one going through it at a low frequency where it's very clear to see. Does that make sense to you? I understand it from what he's telling me, but I'm seeing the picture as he's saying. We can see the cycle repeats on the low frequency people, and it keeps coming over and over and over again. So we can clearly see that happening. If you're at the middle frequency, your behavior patterns are going to be the cycle repeat over and over and over again. So you may not notice it because you're not in the toxic frequency, but it's still the same cycle repeat. Now, if you don't clear that out, it causes a rock bottom to manifest. A rock bottom is like a car accident, a disease, a distortion. It could be anything. It could even be falling on your face and just losing all your money. Or a fire in the house burning down. It's like a removal of energetics because it forces you to focus on the self. Now, what happens when we manifest an illness, and this doesn't matter, it could be a flu. It doesn't have to be like a killer cancer or anything crazy. What happens is many times when we manifest something, it forces you to focus on yourself so that you can raise your frequency and reach into a higher frequency range. That's how this works. So whenever we feel lack of energy, you don't have energy because you're being called to drop into meditation. And during that meditation, you're supposed to be focused on healing yourself. Even if you feel crummier than crummy and you have to lay flat in your bed and you feel like you're dying, you have no energy, focus on yourself, right? I love and bless your body. And so always drop into that that self-care, right? Saltwater baths, especially when you don't feel good and like you have no energy, go I would do it 2 times a day if you can. If you're laid up in a bed and you can't move and you have no energy, saltwater baths. You have to realize that there's energetic vampires that leech off of us. These are parasitic in their nature. And so when they do that and we get into the saltwater baths, they don't like it. A lot of times the small ones will let go when you're in salt water. So think about your emotion grid. Your emotion grid clears with salt water. That's why we cry tears of salt water. And so when we start to go inside and we start to really heal this stuff, right? And we start to raise our frequency, then you're going to have a little bit more energy and then a little bit more energy. And it's like me in 2019. I made it down a house or two. And then I walked home. I walked back to the house. But then the next day or like a couple hours later, I tried again. I went a little further, right? So you'll have a little energy and then you'll have a little more. And then you have to use your willpower and you have to force through. It's not easy to force through when you don't have people laughing, making you laugh. But we have technology. And so there's plenty of comedians online, YouTube University. You could put some funny people in your headphones and you could just laugh as you're trying to walk because it makes you radiate a love, bliss, emotional frequency, which then in turn makes you feel better and it makes you have a little bit more energy so you can go a little further. But then after a week or two, you'll be walking just fine. If you have faith and you stay grounded, you use your willpower and you go, even if it's rain or shine, it doesn't matter, right? And not only that, but let me tell you something. If you go walking down the street, let's say it's after a rain, it smells completely different. It's a totally different emotional experience when you go outside in the rain or when it's first about to rain. It's a different emotional expression. So anyone here who's a waterbender, how does it feel to be in that sensation of before the rain comes? Many people, we have pain come up. We have, my knee hurts or this hurts, right? And so they can feel the weather changes. We call it the barometric. What is it called? Barometric pressure? I think that's what he's saying. So we can feel the pressure shift and then we blame it on that. And that's the reason why we think our body feels different. That's not the case. It's because how do you feel when you're about to cry? You're going to get an emotional response coming up. So that rain that Mother Earth is giving us, it is meant to trigger us to release emotions. Pain is an emotion. And so when it rains, technically, we're supposed to go outside and let the rainwater wash away our sins. Your sin is like your pain because you're not living in alignment with who you are meant to be. That's how it's supposed to work. I still can't say that word. Barometric? Bariatric? It's so funny. No one knows I have issues with language. Like my kid's father is Spanish. I can't speak Spanish to save my life. And so some words in the English, I always mess him up. And that's why I'm always like, what is it? And he's always telling me. He says it like I can hear the word, but I can't speak it. It's wild. So, okay. Barometric. See? You know what's funny? They taught me how to read phonically. I was one of those kids. So you're not supposed to teach people how to read phonically. I think that we've proven now in this day and age, they're like, don't do phonics. It didn't work out good for the 80s kids. So funny. Okay. What else? Do we have any more questions? It's 2 hours. I'm going to have a big Himalayan salt bath after this. Me too. Because even with the government man, right? So I have a little sage thing. I don't really feel him anymore. So I think he knows it's like we're winding down now, right? It's almost 2 hours. I wonder if he stands the whole time. He gets angry. He has to stand. So that's what the Starman is saying. Well, let's not piss him off. Okay, so yeah, but tonight was amazing. Thank you guys for joining me on a wonderful episode of Starseed Activations, Valentine's Day edition. So you went to Christian school. I went to Catholic school. Oh, they loved me. I went against every rule that they had. It was like a rule breaker. I just didn't want to listen. You know, when you're that kid and you have a question and like the people teaching you guys are supposed to know the answers. If you don't know the answer, you should be able to open up a book and you should be able to find the answer, right? And so even as a young child, that's how I felt. And then, you guys are handing me this teaching and you're silencing me. You're telling me, shh, Don't ask your questions. And so they shushed me all the time. And so the second that they shushed me, I was like, you don't know what you're talking about. Right. And then that was a wrap. At that point, it was like, you don't know what you're talking about. So, but it got me to question things. Now, it is actually funny, too, because the Catholic religion, there's a lot of information in there that's spot on. There's a lot of information, but there's a lot of misinformation, too. And so the best way to lie to people is to tell them the truth and then encode the lie into the truth. So, absolutely wild and amazing. But the Catholic and I believe the Christian religions, they allow for people to channel extraterrestrials because it's written into the stories. They're talking about aliens all over the place. And even the artwork, some of the artwork is like a UFO in the sky shining a ray of light onto Mary's belly, right? And so artificial insemination, how did, it's just wild. It's just wild. Totally amazing. So, okay, so what do we have going on? So we are going to start another attachment release class. I'll get that up. Anybody wondering about the Andara crystals? So by tomorrow, I should have a link up so that we can do, shipping. I don't know how the shipping works with the overseas guys. We have to figure that out. So maybe by the next day, the latest, we'll work it out. Or just send me a message, and then this way I can figure out the shipping and we'll organize it. So either way, we'll have that up. I'll have the attachment class up. And so I guess we'll do it either in a week or 2 weeks. Doesn't really matter. And then what is today? Today's Tuesday. So Thursday, 7 p.m. is the next live. I'm also doing Friday and Saturday at 4 p.m. And so we seem to have a lot more people on at 4. And so this is for my overseas people too. So I know that they're, it's like midnight by Fabio. So or later than midnight. So we'll do 2 4s and then Tuesday and Thursday, 7 p.m. So all the information is up on my Facebook page. TreeOfLifeOrganization.com is another Facebook blog page. So you guys can stay in touch. You can send me messages. You can read all my downloads. I have about 500 posts about how to evolve into 5D. It's basically like a step-by-step guide, but it's a physical guide, right? So if I had an issue in the physical world, I started asking questions. I started getting answers, and then I started writing it all down. For you, it's 3 a.m. Thank you for being here, Bruno. Welcome. It's only 9 o'clock by me, so it's nice. So that's what we'll do. And then, tonight's the last night for the Ascension session discount. So we knocked $100 off I'm going to change it in the morning. So right now, I normally say 12 o'clock, so you guys don't miss it. But, if you guys want that, you can go to daniellelipton.com. And so I also am offering attachment release sessions now. The attachment release sessions, they're deep. It's a lot of emotions that get triggered, right? We don't stop. So the second I get you on a phone and you want to release the attachments, we're going to sit there and we're going to get them all off of you until the star people say you've had too much or it's enough, right? But it's a real way of jump starting your evolution because it's releasing all the things that trigger you into having these negative emotions and stuff. I went through the process back in July where it took me for 4 days. And so for 4 solid days, the entire day, the star people came down, used high technology and removed my attachments. So I know exactly what it feels like. I know how to cast them off of you. I know all the emotion codes for a lot of attachments as well. And actually, I channeled about 10 pages of attachment names. So we can even go through them. So it's just really an amazing session to do. It does take an hour or 2. It's normally over an hour. And then after it, both you and I have to do saltwater baths and all that cleansing and purifying and cleansing and purifying the spaces. So it's extensive. So I would only really recommend that for people who really, really want to level up. Other than that, we do a regular healing session where we could just dive into the chakras and we can clear off your energetic grids, right? So a lot of times that's good too for people who don't want to dive into the attachment theme. And then we do have the ascension sessions. So yeah, we're going to put all the stuff will be up on the website by tomorrow for the crystals and then the class. And if you guys have any questions, I don't really like to look at the comments too much because the comments are really tiny. I'm using the laptop. It's kind of far away. So if you guys want to just email me or text me or send me a message, anything, right, send your questions in because I'll write them on a list. I'll read them off on the next live. Now, we did start a WhatsApp So the WhatsApp, there's a group where it's one way. It's from me to you. So I can tell you guys, hey, we're going live in an hour, boop, and it goes right to your phone. There's only about 27 people in there, but it's one way from me to you. So it's not like a group chat. I did also start a group chat in Star People Group. That's on Facebook. And so Star People Group is my personal group. And so we opened up a chat box where everyone can talk to each other. So there's two different options. There's if you just want me to message you guys, hey, I'm going live, or if you guys want to be part of the community and talk to each other. So you guys pick. All of the links are up on my Facebook. So you can go to the Danielle Lipton profile, or treeoflifeorganization.com is another one that has all of the links that you guys need. And so happy Valentine's Day. I hope you guys got tons of chocolate and goodies and organic stuff, right? Crystals, anything wonderful. And you guys have many, many love and blessings, and you have a wonderful evening.